bringing you information based in fact and science concerning today's marijuana. I'm your host, Chris Wolf, and this is Perspectives. With us today is a subject matter expert from the National Marijuana Initiative, sharing their perspective on the influence that today's more potent forms of marijuana products are having, both in our society and in their field of expertise. We're here today with the Executive Director of the National Drug and Alcohol Screening Association, Joe Mcguire. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Joe, is drug testing still viable in the United States workplace?
Absolutely, drug testing is viable. With a national opioid epidemic going on and many states sanctioning marijuana for adult use, it is more important than ever for employees to understand safety, boundaries, to be educated, and for employers to take on the role of helping their employees understand the importance of coming to work prepared to work safely and to go home to their families at the end of the day. Now is not the time to back down and allow just kind of a free-for-all of drug use to occur. We have to, one of the things I say all the time, we have to take care of people. That is our responsibility. So think about if this is your son or daughter in the workplace and they have a problem and this is an opportunity to keep them safe. Would you want to enforce your safe and drug-free workplace? Would you want that enforced for your child? And we always come back to the answer of absolutely. So to me, now is the most critical time in history to care about these issues.
And in the workplace, how impairing is marijuana?
You know, people really misunderstand that marijuana is significantly impairing. Because it's being marketed to us for the purposes of winning elections in states toward legalization, we're being told that it's harmless and like a glass of wine, when the reality of it is marijuana is more potent than ever before. What does that mean? It means for your employees who are using this product, it's not the same thing that you knew in the 70s and the 80s. This is stuff that has a longer lasting high. We're talking about THC potencies that used to be 1 to 3% and now are between 60 and 99%. So we know that we have trouble with multi-divided attention tasks. We have people that have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, delusions, hallucinations. There's so many factors to the impairment. And when we move toward products that have greater potencies, we're now looking at longer windows of impairment and a higher high, in a sense, where now we have not just hallucinatory behavior, but delusional often behavior. Does it happen to everybody? No, not everybody. However, what risk are we going to take? What risk are we willing to take in the workplace? So it is more impairing than ever before. And when you look at the drugs of abuse, when an employer is considering testing for cause or reasonable suspicion or that type of thing, marijuana should be at the top of the list every time, and we need to not back down on that. It's guardrails for safety, and that's the bottom line.
You know, Joe, since marijuana has been legalized in so many states, should employers just remove it from drug testing?
You know, I get that question all the time. Joe, why do we even bother? It's legal here. And my first answer off the cuff is your employees cannot come to work drunk or under the influence of alcohol. Likewise, they can't come to work stoned or under the influence of cannabis. And we need to be very careful to recognize that it's our responsibility as employers to, again, go back to the word safety, to protect our employees and the vulnerable employees who choose not to use drugs against their coworkers who choose to use. That's the primary responsibility, but then you also have the responsibility to your customers and to the general public in which you operate. So removing cannabis from the testing panel or THC is such a terrible idea. not only for those reasons, because I'm saying safety, 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 but secondly, to not do so gives all of the liability on an employer for accidents and injuries and potential fatalities that occur. So employers need to understand that those employees that use marijuana tend to have 55% more industrial accidents, 85% more accidents and injuries that lead to medical attention, 75% more absenteeism, and 40% of all work fatalities are caused by employee drug use. When you look at the hard numbers, removing THC from the drug testing panel is a very bad idea.
So do employers still have the right to enforce their drug-free workplace policies?
That is such a good question, Chris. The answer is absolutely yes. And while we have many states that have made attempts in the last few years to restrict employers' rights, at this point in time, there are still allowances in every state in the U.S. for a safe and drug-free workplace, particularly where there are safety-sensitive employees. So, for instance, a lot of people will say, in New York, no more drug testing. That is not true. New York has put some boundaries around drug testing that employers can do, but if you read through the whole law, employers are still allowed to have safe and drug-free workplaces, to test for post-accident where they suspect drugs could have caused the accident. They're allowed to do reasonable suspicion testing, and that's probably the most rigid state. But in every other state in the union, 100% employers have the right to protect their workplaces, and it is absolutely vital that employers look at their workplace drug and alcohol testing policy, follow your state laws, do some revisions and updates, but keep those guardrails and fences around safety, and don't take on that liability, and make sure you're protecting people.
Joe, you are always such a great guest. Please come back, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
To learn more facts about today's marijuana and its impacts, visit the National Marijuana Initiative's website at www.thenmi.org. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Perspectives.